Welcome to the Twin Cities Business Show. Today we are talking about the greatest state fair in the country, the Minnesota State Fair. We'll take you inside the $77 million operation that becomes the third biggest city in Minnesota when it's going on, and learn how you manage chocolate chip cookies, Kenny Loggins, Shaggy, and a couple hundred farm kids all at the same time. Welcome to the Twin Cities Business Show. We are here today with Renee Alexander, the CEO of the Minnesota State Fair, the best state fair in the country. Welcome to the show.
Thanks so much for having me, Charlie.
Well, this is the conversation that I'm maybe most excited about of all of these. No offense to our other guests, but it's a state fair. It's August. The calendar is turned. And we're going to get into a little bit about the business of the fair, which I'm really excited about.
I'm excited to talk about it.
Great. So, why does Sweet Martha's do so well every year?
Why does Sweet Martha's do so well every year? You know, I think it starts with she's got a great product. I mean, that's number one. And number two, she's built the business over, several years, decades, in fact. And it becomes a tradition. I think the fair really at its core for a lot of Minnesotans, for a lot of people, is about tradition.
Mm-hmm.
And that is part of what Sweet Martha is all about. And I think the other piece about Martha, it's a collective experience. Most people are not going to eat an entire bucket of cookies.
Watch me.
But it's,
true. Yes.
It's one of those things that you share with your friends, you share with family, you share with strangers. One of my favorite things to see during the course of the fair is in our Grandstand concerts, I will see buckets of cookies being passed down the row at a concert, before a concert or at intermission, where people are just sharing cookies with complete strangers. So I think
beautiful.
It's the collective experience of the cookies, and they're warm.
Oh, that's so good.
That is really the key.
I want a bucket right now.
Well, not too much longer.
I know. Soon enough. I mentioned this. Okay, my in-laws are coming to the fair this year for the first time. What do you recommend for somebody who's got, call it 5 hours at the fair? What's the perfect 5 hours?
Oh gosh, 5 hours. Yeah, you're going to have to be on a sprint. But, I think one of the things that makes the fair so special is in Minnesota. It's one of the few places where the rural lifestyle of Minnesota meets the urban lifestyle of Minnesota. So personally, the barns, I think starting in the barns, where else can you go where you can see a live animal birth at our CHS Miracle of Birth Center. So I think barns are always a great place to start. And then I just like meandering around. I mean, it's such great, again, this collective experience. I'm a huge fan of the Ag Hort building. I think one of the things that's really unique about the fair is crop art, that people make art out of seeds. And so I think that's something to see as well. Again, you keep meandering around, you eat some more, you head up north. One of our newer buildings is the North End Event Center, which we built in 2019. And we do museum quality exhibits in that building. This year, we're got an exhibit on dinosaurs that's coming from the Science Museum of Minnesota. So partnering with the Science Museum of Minnesota on that exhibit. Eco Experience always has new and interesting and innovative ideas about our environment. And, of course, I got to mention stages. We have free stages throughout the grounds. So it's stopping for a little while and finding a shady spot and listening to some music and just wander. So
this is great. We're going to be busy.
Yeah. I mean, that's so, I could keep going and going.
Totally.
I could plan 5-hour days for that.
I bet. Okay, so take us into the business of the fair. I think it's so fascinating. You guys are a collection of all these small businesses. There are all the ag groups. There are kids sleeping there.
Yeah.
How does the state fair as an entity make money?
Sure. So I'll start with how we're structured. We are a quasi-state agency. We've been around actually longer than Minnesota has been a state. So the first territorial fair, the Minnesota Territorial Society, was formed in 1854.
Before the state was a state.
Before the state was a state.
Incredible.
And the first territorial fair was held in 1855. And the idea around it was to promote Minnesota, that it was more than a frozen tundra, and promote the agriculture of Minnesota. So that's how we started. So we're, again, quasi-state agency. We don't, even though state is in our name, We do not receive any government funding whatsoever. So all of the revenue that is generated throughout the full 12 months of the year is all put back into the fair and the fairgrounds. So the fairgrounds themselves is state property. So
Mm.
we're 320 acres, but we are responsible for the care, custody, and control of those 320 acres. So we're responsible for the streets, the sewers, all of the buildings. I mean, we've been in this location since 1885, and we have buildings. We don't have buildings that are that old, but we do have buildings that are well over 100 years old. Our grandstand was built in 1909. Our 4-H building was a WPA building.
Hmm.
So a lot of these buildings, older structures, need a lot of TLC, obviously. So everything we make goes right back into creating the fair. So that's, half of our revenue comes from ticket sales and then through other sources. So as far as the small businesses go, all of our vendors are licensed. It's an annual license, and we license over just around 300 food and beverage vendors, and then close to 1,000, about 700 non-food vendors that are there as well. So
you guys make money off the licenses. Do you get
Mhm.
anything based on their sales, or does that all go to them?
Yeah, no, food and beverage, we get a percentage of their sales. We receive
Okay.
a small percentage of their sales.
Is it
for
a
them
set
being there.
percentage across the board?
It's a set percentage for food. It's a separate percentage for beer and wine sales.
Okay. What
Yeah.
are those percentages?
It's 15% for food, and
Okay.
it's 18% for beer and wine sales.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
what is
And then all of our merchandise vendors, they pay a flat rate based on front footage.
Got it. So give me a general breakdown, doesn't have to be precise, of sort of
Mhm.
where the revenue comes from: ticket sales,
Mhm.
licenses, and sales.
So about 50% comes from ticket sales.
Okay.
About 25 to 30% comes from that sales piece, so the licensing and percentages.
Got it.
And then we have smaller portions. Grandstand sales are part of it.
Mm.
Our non-fair events revenue is a small portion of that. Midway ticket sales are another piece of that. So that's the primary sources there of revenue.
Got it.
And then we have our other opportunities for funding sources is we also have a 501c3. We have the Minnesota State Fair Foundation, which was formed about 25 years ago. And their primary reason for existence is to support and preserve the State Fair buildings and programming. So that's another avenue we have for funding. And we also have the ability to borrow,
Got it.
to bond. Mhm.
Really, really interesting. So what is the total revenue pie generally at this point in time?
This past year, our overall revenue was 77 million.
Wow.
It's all dumped right back into it.
That is just a huge operation.
It is a very big operation. I mean, we're essentially, for those 12 days, we're the third largest city in Minnesota.
That's wild.
So we're basically standing up a city that sees on average between 100 and 250,000 people on the fairgrounds over the course of the 12 days.
Wow. So what are the, call it 3 metrics that you look at to say, was this a successful fair, and how successful was it?
I mean, I think first and foremost is safety. So our goal is that everybody who is impacted by the fair, comes to the fair, gets home safely. That's number one. So that is a big metric for us. Number 2 is experience. Did people have a good time here? And we have a very robust guest services relations department that tracks all of that. And I mean, we see very few complaints about the fair, but we take all of them very seriously. And if we're noticing trends, we try to make changes as we can. There's certainly pain points when you're bringing that many people into one location, parking struggles and traffic and those kinds of things that we're always working to try and improve. And then revenue, making sure that we've made enough to put it right back into the fair next year. But we also, even though ticket prices are about 50% of our revenue, we're very conscious that we continue to be affordable for families and try and offer as many ways as we can for families to experience the fair in an affordable way.
Yeah. I want to dig in on that because, inflation, affordability are top of mind for everybody,
Yeah.
and the state fair is part of Minnesota. And that's a big thing driving a lot of, consumer decisions and hurting a lot of people right now. How do you guys, deal with setting ticket prices? You had to raise prices this year. So I want to talk a little bit about that. And then how do you make sure that once people are inside the gates, there are affordable things for them to do in an environment where you don't necessarily control all the prices of the vendors?
Yeah. So just we did not raise prices.
Oh, you didn't
this
raise
year.
prices this year. I'm sorry.
We raised prices 2 years ago.
I'm sorry about that.
No,
Yeah.
that's fine. No, that's fine.
That's good to know. Well, no
exactly.
price raise this year.
Yeah. So we maintained our ticket prices this year and we build our budget based on that. So looking at what we can do based on what our projected revenue is coming in. So we try to create as many different opportunities for people to purchase tickets at a lower than what the gate admission. You walk up to the gate or you purchase your ticket online before you show up at the fair. It's $20. Prior to that, right now, you can go to our outlets or you can go online and you can purchase tickets for $17.
Do it, folks. Save $3.
Save $3. We always do a big flash sale in November, which is our lowest ticket price. So try and providing opportunities. And, if you're a planner, you can plan ahead. Everyone can bring their own food and beverage to the fair. I mean, while people love to eat fair food, if you want to bring your own water bottle, you want to bring your own food, your own snacks, you're able to do that. And then our thought is we provide so much programming over the course of the day that, you can do a lot for that $17 over the course of the opening being open from 7 a.m. to 11 p.m.
Yeah.
Throughout the fair.
So walk me through a great free day at the fair.
A great free day at the fair. Totally free. Okay, so come in the gate. Well, first of all, you take a free park and ride bus.
Great start.
So you start by parking at one of our 30 plus park and ride lots and you take a free ride in. So we will drop you off at the gate for nothing. Then I would say you're probably coming in gate 16. So I would head down to the West End Market first. So we have the History and Heritage Museum there, which has great artifacts and great facts and filled with all kinds of information about the history of the fair and how we got to where we are today, which is really a fun place to start. And then I'd wander through the shops at West End Market. You don't have to buy anything. There is probably a glass blowing demonstration happening. There are free shows happening at the West End Market stage, so you can grab a seat and watch some free music for a while. Then I'd wander over to the barns, go through the barns, Miracle of Birth Center, back up to the Egg Hort building. I'd hit the Coliseum. We just renovated our Coliseum, 75 years old.
That's exciting.
We did a $24 million renovation on that building. Wow. So it replaced all of the seats, added all new restrooms, new lighting, HVAC, new accessibility features. So
the horses are going to be thrilled.
The horses are thrilled. Yes. So far, we opened in April. So that's our most used building on the fairgrounds. So we've had horse shows in there all summer long. And the feedback that we're hearing from the riders, the horses haven't said a lot, but the patrons who've been using the building have been pleased with the upgrade. So,
can't wait to see it.
So there's a llama costume contest that's free in that building, and 4-H kids with livestock. I mean, we've got full free programming throughout the full course of the fair in the Coliseum. And then I would probably head up to the Egg Hort building and hit, maybe you're there with the day that they're doing a bee beard, where in the bee and honey exhibits, or, checking out the crop art or the Christmas trees, or, listen to a demo on craft brewing. Our dirt stage has information on straw bale, there's, straw bale gardening and all different kinds of things. So we've got so much programming, and and so much of it is things that you can learn. I mean, it's amazing to me what you can gather as far as new information, or seek out people who will share information at the fair, and that takes a lot of volunteers and exhibitors. Yesterday, I was just at the celebration. The Eco Experience has been at the fair for 20 years. And each year, that group of volunteers and staff creates, they tweak and do new exhibits every year, every 2 years. But basically, they build an interactive museum and education learning space for families. And I mean, I remember a few years ago walking up there and asking when I should trim my ash tree. So, there's just all this wealth of information that is all throughout the fairgrounds.
Awesome.
So,
I mean, incredible deal for $17. That's
really
not super
is.
far off from a movie ticket.
No,
right?
no, it's not. Which a movie, well, unless it's the Odyssey where you're going for 3 hours.
Yes,
but I mean,
right.
it's, an hour and a half or 2 hours. But you could fill a full day and not spend a whole lot of money.
That's great.
Yeah.
So you were very involved with the Grandstand programming for a while. Can you talk a little bit about your role there?
Sure. So yeah, I was, in fact, I have still booked the Grandstand this year. So for the last 21 years, I have been the talent buyer for all of the Grandstand shows that come through. So, and the funny piece of that is, I mean, I grew up in Coon Rapids. I grew up going to the fair. The first concerts I ever saw were at the Minnesota State Fair Grandstand. I saw Kenny Loggins and I saw Alabama in 1985.
Oh,
right?
Do you know how bad I want to see Kenny Loggins in 1985? That sounds like a spiritual experience.
Right. But it never occurred to me that there was somebody who made that happen, that bought the talent and produced the shows to make it happen. So yeah, and here I am.
So
being the one.
Can you I would love to hear a little bit about the planning of that, because I was, looking at the lineup this year, and within 5 days of each other, you can see Rod Stewart and Salt-N-Pepa.
You can.
And so I would love to know about the process that goes into that, and how you end up with 2 acts like that,
Right.
and all the others.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of planning, and it's putting together a big 12-day puzzle. I mean, the number one goal with our Grandstand is to have as diverse of a lineup as we possibly can, so that you can see Rod Stewart and Salt-N-Pepa in the course of a handful of days. So that's number one. Number two, one of the biggest constraints we have is we have 12 days, and they're not moving.
Yeah.
So being able to find artists who are available during those 12 days whittles down the list pretty quickly. But we work, it's a year and a half, 18-month process to get artists, submitting offers and getting offers to, getting artists to confirm to perform. So it's very relationship based. I work with agents throughout, mostly West Coast, Nashville, and East Coast. Built relationships over 20 plus years with agents who represent a lot of the artists. We're 14,000 seats, so it's pretty significant capacity. So there's, a group of agents who really, throughout different agencies that represent the artists that can fill that size of a venue. So
amazing. It's an amazing space. I think some people don't know this, but the Grandstand is also where Teddy Roosevelt gave his Walk Softly and Carry a Big Stick speech, which is a great bit of state
he was
fair
actually on the fairgrounds. I don't believe
Not
he was
at the
actually in the Grandstand,
So
but
I'm
he
spreading
was
false information.
You might be.
Yeah.
You might be.
But he was at the fair.
Teddy was there, and that was the speech that he gave. He gave it at the Minnesota State Fair.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Great bit of lore.
Yeah, it is.
So digging in a little bit more on the Grandstand, a couple years ago, I saw this show that I have never stopped thinking about, which is I saw Shaggy, TLC, and Bone Thugs. And it's a great trivia question. You can play at home. Who opened and who closed, and why?
I know the answer to that.
Do you?
Because I booked it.
So talk me through how you come up with putting those 3 together and why
Sure.
they went in the order they did.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's so that was 2021. That was coming out of COVID. That was the first, because obviously we didn't have a fair in 2020.
Yeah.
2021, the Grandstand lineup was a struggle that year, because things were starting to open up, then they kind of closed back down, then they opened up again. So TLC, it has a lot to do with what their selling power is, determines who the headliner is. And then it was a matter of working with their agent and the agents with Shaggy and Bone Thugs and Harmony. So Bone Thugs opened, Shaggy was the middle spot, and TLC closed.
That befuddles people. They never know. But if you had been there and seen TLC, man, people love TLC.
Yeah.
I knew that, but the level was wild.
Yeah. Yeah.
Incredible show. So, how were you going from sort of being focused on the grandstand to the larger fair? I want you to just talk a little bit about that experience and kind of how that transition worked and how you ended up in the job you have.
Yeah. Well, and I'm going to go back even a little bit farther.
Okay.
So I actually started as an intern in 1989. So 4 years after I saw Alabama and Kenny Loggins, I was a communications major at UW River Falls, and I needed a summer internship. And I had a friend of mine from college, had a family member that worked at the fair. And so I interviewed in the sales department that would have worked with all of the food and beverage vendors, with the Midway rides, all the exhibitors. And so I interviewed for the job and I didn't get it. I was not hired.
Oh,
so
but that didn't stop you.
It did not stop me. But so a couple days later, I get a call from the woman who was running the free entertainment department. And I met with her and she hired me on the spot to work in free entertainment. So I remember that Friday going into the fair, I had a high wire walker in my office. I met the people who ran the carnival. I mean, it was just this great group of people who all came together to create this magical experience. And for that summer and those 12 days, I just fell in love with the fair and fell in love with creating something that is so meaningful to so many people and was so much bigger than anything I could ever do on my own. So then I was hired full time. I was there for 5 years working in free entertainment, and then decided I wanted to go out and spread my wings. And so did some other things. I was in corporate meeting planning for quite a while and event production. And then 21 years ago, they called and asked if I was interested to come back as the entertainment director. So I came back as entertainment director and booking the grandstand and then overseeing the great team we have that handles all of our free entertainment. And then slowly over time, I ended up overseeing additional departments. So marketing and our ticketing, archives, educational programming. So my breadth of knowledge around the fair just grew and grew. I was fortunate. My predecessor, who was in the role for, I believe, 27 years, Jerry Hammer, was a great mentor for me and really brought me along in conversations that I would never have expected to be a part of. I was part of our construction project with the West End Market and our Gate 16. So learning about, architects and construction and RFPs around selecting vendors, and have just been part of so many different elements of the fair. So then when Jerry announced his retirement, I applied for the position. I was the only internal candidate, and they selected me, and here we are.
That's great.
Yeah. And it's, I'm the luckiest girl in Minnesota. But it also is a tremendous responsibility and humbling. But it's so wonderful when I talk to people who the fairs mean so much to them. And they, most people, when they tell me, they start with their own fair story, which I just love to hear all the different fair stories that people have about their experiences and memories about the fair. And, if I meet somebody who's like, yeah, I'm not really a fair person, I'm like, I can create a fair day for you that that may turn you into a fair person.
How could you not be a fair person?
Well, I mean, there's people that don't like crowds. But there are times of the fair. I mean, I think one of the most special times I like to really walk around and experience the fair is in the evening, like a weekday evening after the grandstand show has started. You've got, Shaggy playing in the background. And, it's a great time to wander through the creative activities building, the fine arts building. I mean, grab something to eat, find a bench, just that twilight kind of golden hour time, walk down the Midway. It's a slower time that I find really enjoyable. So I think there are ways that people who don't like crowds, early mornings are another great time. So and there is something for everyone. If you're, into cars or you're into, photography or whatever it is, there is something that I will be challenged to find.
That's what I think. There's something for everybody.
That's our goal,
Yeah.
right? I mean, we're always looking at our programming and making sure that all of Minnesota is represented in some way here at the fairgrounds.
Great. Have there been pieces of the job that, you obviously knew the fair very well when you took the job, but have there been pieces of actually doing the job on a day-to-day basis that have really surprised you?
I think one of the most surprising things for me is, I knew what it took from our staff and, the level of commitment there. I think what's been surprising to me is how much broader that is. Just looking at all of the exhibitors, all of our partners, looking at all of the different agencies and different people that come together to make it happen. Vendors, contractors, one of the stories, it was a few years ago when it was pretty high heat during the fair, and the History and Heritage Center that I mentioned earlier, the air conditioning went out. That's one of our few buildings that has air conditioning, and it froze up. And they called the contractor that had taken care of that building and that piece of it. He was at his cabin in northern Minnesota.
Not helpful.
He dropped everything.
Wow.
Went to his shop, got the piece, and came in and fixed that air conditioner.
Amazing.
And the stories like that are countless. The vendors that help each other out with, if they're short on product or, need oven space or whatever it is. It is really one of the few places I feel like where everybody is working towards the same goal to make it the best it can be for the people of Minnesota.
That's so fun.
Yeah.
So you're there on site for 12 days. Are you running around firefighting? Are you going out and eating food? Like, what are your 12 days
What are my
like?
12 days like? And they've certainly changed. I think it was that was one of the biggest shifts for me is, in my previous role, I was on the ground and it was putting out fires and it was a lot of oversight and a lot of, managing of things. In this role during the fair, everyone's executing. So if I've done my job right, nobody needs me.
Mm-hmm.
They're out executing their pieces of the entire event. So I do a lot of, what I would call ambassador work. I get to be, open the fair with our board of managers or hand out state fair pins to our 4-H champions. So I'm out and about. I love to stand in line for food and talk to people just randomly and see what their fair day is like.
That's great.
And stand in line for some honey ice cream and strike up a conversation with strangers. And a lot of it's observing too, how are things going? What do what do we see that we could tweak for the future? And then it's being available if we have any major issues that come up. 2 years ago, we had a major storm roll through at 5:45 a.m. Yeah. So we mobilized quickly. That's, again, another case where people just came together. We had, vendors that were picking up branches on the street, and our tree company and our fence company, beelined it to the fair, and we're cutting down, branches that were problematic and putting fences back in place, and everybody just pulled together. And when I first rolled in that morning and, we're talking with our team and trying to determine, when are we going to open? And because we made the decision at that point, it wasn't safe to open at 7 a.m. We needed to remain closed to make sure the fairgrounds were safe, check for power lines that were down, make sure that, everybody was accounted for and everyone was safe. And so the first conversation was, I think we can be ready by noon. And I said, I think we can be ready by 9. And we were ready by 9. We made it happen. But it took everybody pulling together to do that. So part of the role is having space in my calendar and time to help the team through those types of challenges that come along.
Yeah. That's fascinating.
Yeah.
I want to get into the Midway and the economics of the Midway.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
How does that work? You mentioned that you guys get sort of a portion of ticket sales, go back to the overall fair. What do those licenses look like? And, how do you guys pick who's in there. I know it's the same people often, but not always.
Yeah. So the Midway, and we're unique compared to a lot of other fairs. So a lot of other fairs will contract with a single Midway operator. So they'll, a company that will come and they'll bring in all of the rides and all of the food that creates that carnival as part of that fair. In our particular case, we have an independent Midway. So we are curating our own Midway every year. So we're selecting the rides, we're selecting the games, we're setting the layout, we're selecting the food operators that are in there. So all of those vendors, all of those operators that are part of our Midway and our Kidway too, that's a separate location. Those are independent licenses that happen. So there may be operators in there that may have 2 or 3 rides. They may operate at other events with multiple. I mean, they may have a full carnival that they put somewhere else during the course of the 12 days, but they have found it to be so lucrative for them to be at the Minnesota State Fair for 12 days that they will make that decision to do that. So it's highly curated. We get really excited when we have an operator that has a new ride that hasn't been seen before, that we're able to showcase at the Minnesota State Fair. So, the Great Big Wheel, which has been on the north end of the fairgrounds for the last several years, that operator is actually bringing an even bigger wheel this year.
Bigger wheel?
A bigger wheel, yes.
So do they pay... Let's say you own the Great Big Wheel. You pay a license fee to come in. You give a cut of...
A percentage of your sales.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fascinating.
Yep.
Great Big Wheel.
Yeah, and they don't pay a license fee. They just pay that percentage.
I see.
Yeah.
I see. Do you have to ride the rides before they show up on the fairground? I mean, how does that work?
I do not.
Well, not you, but someone. Yeah.
No, not necessarily right. I mean, I think the other, it's a pretty small community.
Yeah.
So, our staff that works with those Midway operators, they're vetting them as far as the quality of operator they are. They're sharing specs of the rides that they're looking to purchase or what they're doing. So, and at the end of the day, it's different variations of going up and down or around and round.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
just different ways of making me puke.
Yes. I loved Midway rides, but I have reached an age where I don't. But I did, a few years ago, one of my colleagues, her daughter wanted to go on the slingshot. So I did the slingshot with her.
How'd that go?
Her daughter. It was great. She was, when I realized once we were buckled in that she was not happy about what was about to happen. So I moved into triage mode of I need to make sure that she's okay. So
while being slingshotted into the air.
Yeah. So I was distracted by making sure she was okay.
You have a very interesting job.
It is. You never know. Yeah. It's there are many times that we say at the fair, I'm like, well, this wasn't on my bingo card. So it is always something new and different, which is what I love. I love the fact that it's different every day. And just all of the people that have such, specific interests and expertise that it takes to make it all come together is just incredible.
Speaking of, one of the very cool things about the fair is the 4-H program, the 4-H Kids. Can you talk a little bit about what that program is, just for people who aren't that familiar, and then how the whole setup with them works around the fair?
Sure. So 4-H is part of U of M Extension, University of Minnesota Extension. It is a program that happens at county fairs and throughout the year, quite honestly, with youth. It's a youth leadership organization. It's a growing organization. And kids have an opportunity to put together a project. They can choose what their area of interest is and put together a project. So there's livestock is one of them, but also there's everything from media to sewing to cooking and our Arts In program, which is a performing arts program. So pretty much anything you can imagine, gardening, kids put together a project. And then the key part of their project is then they meet with a judge and have to explain their project. So it's about building leadership skills and communication skills. So the pinnacle of the 4-H program is winning a trip from the county fair to the Minnesota State Fair.
So you have to qualify.
You have to qualify. Yes, through the county fair. So those kids come to the state fair. Our 4-H building, which we're currently in the middle of a major capital campaign to renovate that building. It was built during WPA. It's in dire need of some love and care. On the 3rd floor of that building are dorms, so the kids actually stay on site during their encampment. We have 3 separate encampments during the fair. So 4-H kids stay there. The middle floor, we have a cafeteria, so the kids eat there on the fairgrounds, and then the main floor is demonstration area. It's open to the public. People can go in and see arts and shows, and see the different projects that kids have worked on. And then there's the livestock component too, the first 4 days. So kids are showing everything from poultry to cattle and sheep and goats and everything in between. So it's, again, another place where we bring all of Minnesota together, and the stories that I hear from past 4-Hers and what an incredible impact 4-H had on their lives is pretty incredible. And I will say, as an employer, if I see someone that has previous 4-H experience on their resume, they're getting a hard look, because they have learned communication skills. They've learned skills that can be really, really beneficial to any employer.
Wow. So how many people are sleeping at the fair overnight every day?
I don't have a full number of how many are sleeping. There's room for 750 kids in the dorms.
Okay.
Yeah. And then obviously we have a campground there. We have vendors that are sleeping part of the Midway area. So I don't have a solid number.
We're probably
on
in the
what that is.
thousands.
Yeah, I would say we're probably in that 1,000 to 1,500.
Super interesting.
Yeah. And there's a whole other fair that happens overnight that nobody is aware of.
Talk a little bit about that.
So grounds close at 11 p.m. At that point, we have until 7 o'clock the next morning to clean it up and get it ready to go for the next day. So we have staff that are there overnight that are cleaning restrooms, restocking restrooms, emptying all the garbage. We're picking up, we work with a lot of fundraising groups, kids like in hockey teams, volleyball teams that will, as part of a fundraising effort, they'll come and pick up garbage during the day. But then those all go to central locations, bigger, trash dumpsters and compactors, which are really hard to get to during the day. So overnight, all the garbage trucks are going around and emptying all those dumpsters. Then you have all of the vendor suppliers coming in overnight. They've got a restock for the next day. So there's kegs coming in, there's food product, vendors restocking all across the fairgrounds. So yeah, it's basically a reset that happens overnight, and then we can get ready to do it all again the next day. And I think that's one of the amazing things, is coming in every morning and it looks like it's day one all over again. Yeah.
I've been there at the open once or twice, and it is shocking where it looks like nobody has been there the day before. It's amazing. It's pretty incredible.
Yeah. So there's a whole, team of people that are making that happen overnight, so we can open again the next morning.
Okay, we're going to demystify a big mystery here. How do you become a new vendor at the State Fair?
Well, so there's this, I think, in part of the mystery, or the myth maybe, is that when a vendor leaves, we just go to the next one in the stack, and that's who gets their spot, that there's a waiting list. And there's not a waiting list. Anyone can apply at any time. We have a space on our website, Become a Vendor, and you can go out and fill out an application. And, there's a lot of things that come into play. Number one is experience, and I think everyone likes to focus on the food, so we'll talk about the food piece of it. The State Fair is the Super Bowl of food events. So you may have the best recipe, you make the best cheeseburger all around. If you haven't made that for anyone other than your family and friends, probably need to get some experience first. So festivals, events, other fairs, you need to show that you have the ability to move product in a way that can handle the crush that it
Yeah.
takes for those 12 days. So experience is number one. Number two, what are your needs as a vendor? Do you need indoor space, which we have very limited indoor food vending space, or do you have your own trailer? And then it's a matter of, do we have a location that works for whatever your needs are? And it's diversity of product. We're not going to put a cheeseburger vendor next to another cheeseburger vendor. So a lot of it comes down to timing too. Is there that a space opens up that is a perfect fit for your product at the right time and the right place? So it is not it is not as magical as you would think. A lot of it has to do with luck, but it really, really starts with that experience.
Yeah. Very good. So I could go apply to become a vendor right now.
You could. Yes.
Fascinating.
Absolutely.
I'm wildly underqualified.
You and me both.
Yeah. You're probably a little bit more qualified, but
And I will say then, once we do have new vendors, our team works really closely with them because we want them to succeed, so making sure that they understand, again, the fact that you can't drive product up to your booth at 2:00 in the afternoon. It's not going to happen, and what it takes to staff a location and making sure that your suppliers can provide what you need. So our team works really closely with new vendors to make sure that they're set up for success and that they're around for a while.
Yeah. So speaking of staff, how many permanent staff do you guys have? And then what is your sort of peak employment at the heart of the fair?
So we have 90 full-time employees that work year-round. So, even though the fair is 12 days, we're working 12 months to make it happen and beyond. I mean, we're planning beyond, 18 months out, 2 years out, always looking ahead of what's coming up. So there's 90 of us that are there year-round. We add about another 150 over the course of the summer. And by fair time, we'll have 3,000 employees. So 3,000 of our own employees. We estimate all of our vendors add another probably 7,000 employees. And then there's countless volunteers and fundraising groups and others. So it truly takes a major village to make it happen.
Yeah. How do you manage the tons and tons of new employees all starting at once? Like, how does that even work on your side?
Yeah, and so they're broken down by department.
Okay.
So each department hires their staff what they need, and then they work on training in those individual departments. Some require more training than others. Our admissions team, it's a big team. They're the ones that scan your tickets when you come in the gate. So they're deployed throughout at all of our gates. It's learning how to work a scanner. It's learning some emergency information, learning who your boss is, and then you're off and running. There's others that may be more specific, that there's more training that's required. For example, like our information booth people, they're given a whole toolkit of information because they get asked all kinds of questions all day long. So training and reference materials for them looks a lot different than it does for the admissions department. So, but what's interesting is we have about a 73% retention rate of employees who come back year after year to work at the fair. So, which is incredible. I mean, to have that level of returning staff every year for the 12 days, we couldn't do it without them. Those frontline employees are just so key to what we do. And so we do a lot of recognition around how many years of service you've had at the fair, and all the way up to, we do a 50-year award every year during fair. And that can be an employee, it can be a vendor, an exhibitor. And every year there's probably 20 to 30 people that receive that award. So it's it runs deep for a lot of people.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
I'm really curious too about the off season. So the fair happens during these 12 days, and then you told me you have more than 150 events in the off season.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about what that looks like and the types of things that you guys look for from that type of programming?
Sure. Yeah. So we have a team, our non-fair events team, that works specifically with those. Those are mostly outside. They're promoters. They're not the fair putting on that level of programming. So they usually reach out to us. Again, a lot of them are returning year after year. We have a plant sale every Mother's Day weekend, the Friends Plant Sale. That's a big one. I mentioned our Coliseum. That is our most used building. So there's horse shows that return year after year. The MSRA Back to the 50s car show is every June. So there's a lot that happens year after year. Our new North End Event Center, we have everything from reptile shows to holiday markets, and we do some small conferences there. So there's all levels there was a big adult book fair that was this year. So just a lot of different events that happen over the course of the year.
Do you have a favorite?
Well, I mean, I'm biased, but the fair does produce the Kickoff to Summer event. So this was an event that came out of COVID in 2021 when we had not had a fair in 2020. So we were essentially broke. So looking for alternative ways to create revenue so we could retain our staff. And during the 2020, what would have been the 2020 fair, we did the food parade, which was a drive around event. And then in the spring, we did Kickoff to Summer, it's kind of a slice of the fair. And that's one of my favorites. Our staff, we bootstrapped that event and put it together, just our full-time staff. And the first year staffed it all on our own. And, we were doing whatever needed to be done. And it's really grown into something that's pretty special. It's great for people who may have mobility issues, and doing the whole fair is challenging. We have a smaller footprint. It's a lot easier to manage for a lot of folks. So that's my favorite.
That's great. I want to get into blue ribbons. Big deal.
Big deal.
My grandma won, I think not a blue ribbon, but the next one for her button collection one year.
She did.
How many categories are there total where blue ribbons are awarded?
So many that I don't know the answer. Many.
Hundreds.
Yes. Oh, easily hundreds. I mean, because and there's so many different categories within categories. So, I mean, you think about, there's ribbons for fine arts, which is the largest juried art show in the state.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. Isn't that incredible?
Yeah.
Then you have creative activities, which I think that's when you think of blue ribbons, you think of apple pie and chocolate chip cookies and button collections. So there's hundreds of different classes within that creative activities categories. We have K through 12. We have an education exhibit area too, that also gets ribbons. And then you go to the livestock side, then you've got bee and honey. So you've got Christmas trees, you've got flowers, so hundreds and hundreds.
Yeah. So I mentioned before we started that, I have a friend who's been trying to win one in the food category. You mentioned that chocolate chip cookies, tough one to break into because it's totally saturated.
It's a very saturated market. Yes, there's a lot of entries that land in that chocolate chip cookie category.
So if somebody out there is like, I really want to win a blue ribbon, I'm trying to find a place where there's not a ton of competition, what would you suggest that they make?
Gosh, I don't have anything specific, but I would say that they go onto our website and all of they call them premium books that list all the different categories, and look at something, maybe your first year is research only.
Yeah.
That you spend time around the coolers in the creative activities building and look at categories and kind of figure out, it's like, oh, there was only one of those, or there were two of those, and see, because we display everything. So you can take a look and see, and then go back over the course of the winter and figure out, how you're going to refine your recipe for something in a more obscure category.
So that's it. A 2-year plan
to
win a blue ribbon at the state fair.
I mean, it's a 2-year start.
Yeah. Okay, I have a couple rapid fire questions just about some of your favorite things. So favorite food?
They're all my favorite.
I know.
I can't say.
But there's one that you probably eat. You're like, I have to eat.
Here's the one thing that I live on during fair is coffee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
From?
Iced coffee from just about anybody.
Great.
Yeah.
Great. They're all good.
They're all great.
Okay, favorite animal?
Favorite animal? Oh gosh.
These are all your children.
They're all my children. Yeah, I mean, I love them all.
Mine's chickens.
Yours is chickens?
Because there are so many different types of... Who knew there were that many types of chicken?
Isn't it amazing?
It blows my mind every time.
I find, same with the rabbits.
Yeah.
There's a
right.
lot of different rabbits too.
Who knew? I thought there were just rabbits, but
I know.
no, there are many
No,
types of
there are
rabbits.
many types of rabbits.
Okay, so I'm getting the sense that these are all your children. And
they're all my children. Yeah. I love walking through the cattle barn. It's a historic building. The light comes through there, and these animals are just, they've been fluffed and bedazzled, and they're just so docile. I'm a big fan of cattle.
That's great. Okay, what about, not your favorite, but what is a Coliseum event that people should be sure to check out this year?
Oh gosh. Again, there's so many.
Yeah.
I mean, I love the just seeing 4-H kids with showing their animals, I think is just incredible. I mean, I think a cult favorite is the llama costume contest. People love the llama costume contest. Rodeo, draft horses. I mean, draft horses are so incredible. I mean, one of my greatest experiences was I actually got to jump onto the hitch of the winning draft horse hitch and do a lap around the Coliseum.
That's so fun.
With these 6 giant animals navigating around I wasn't navigating it, but making a lap around the Coliseum. Just the power and the speed. It was pretty incredible.
That sounds so fun.
Yeah. I love draft horses.
Yeah, that's a very good one. Let's say you got to run one booth or exhibit or something for the totality of the fair. Are there any that you would be especially interested in just giving a try to?
Oh, gosh. I've never thought about that.
Yeah.
That's a new one. I think, in part of it, I think about when I was like a high school or college age person. I look at Sweet Martha's, I look at the corn roast, I look at cheese curds, where there's all these kids that have come from all different schools and all different backgrounds that all work together. Some of them fall in love, some make new friends forever. I mean, I think I would want to work or run one of those operations where they've got all of these, this huge staff of kids that come together and have this great experience. I mean, the corn roast, one of my favorite things is every night after the fireworks go off, after the Grandstand show, the kids who are working, the people who are working in the corn roast do a dance on top of the roasters.
What?
It's amazing. Same dance. They've been doing it for years, but several of the kids jump up on the roasters and do this dance, and they're, all full of soot and everything from the day. But it's just one of those special moments that I think is just so much fun.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
So, we're living in a time when people are very divided. Politics are divided. Many of the institutions that used to bring people together are sort of waning in popularity or admission, but the state fair has sort of endured. Attendance numbers are really good. Mm-hmm. How do you guys navigate a world that can feel really divided at times, and still maintain the state fair as this place where everybody can come together and feel like they have a spot? Yeah,
it's a great question, and one that I am amazed at, honestly. And I think number one is we really live in neutrality. The fair, what it's founded on is being a place that is a forum of exchange of ideas. So, we don't take a position on anything. We create, one of the things I like to say is we are the canvas and everyone brings the paint to create this work of art that is the state fair. So I think it's just, we provide an opportunity for everybody, and we want to reflect all of Minnesota, and I think that the beauty of the fair is people realize that they have more in common with each other than they realize, and so I think it's just having that air of neutrality of we're not picking sides. We're here, come here, learn something, and make a decision for yourself. So
that's great. It is it's pretty remarkable.
Yeah.
And it is something that I think people can kind of take for granted, is just how there's still this place that everybody comes together, and it's endured a lot of challenging times.
It definitely has. Yeah. And I think, this is, like you said, we're divided, but we've been here before, and it's like you said, the fact that the fair has endured. And I think a lot of it has to do with it. We just maintain that we are a place.
Yeah.
We are a place for all. And that is what we're here for. I mean, I think the most divisive thing is, ketchup or mustard. I mean, that's
Or I'm a both guy.
yeah. Only mustard.
Okay. Really?
See? Yeah, just mustard.
Our ketchup sponsors can be very disappointed. If you're out there, by the way, give us a call. The business questions. I'm very curious about how you manage capital expenses, right? You have all these buildings. Many of them are old.
Yeah.
Many of them are historic. You mentioned sort of, you guys have revenue, you put it back in, you have the ability to borrow, you have the foundation. How do you look at sort of all of the capital expenditures you have to make and come up with a plan for those, which I would imagine has to be sort of multi-year?
Oh, without a doubt. Yeah, I mean, it's about prioritization. I mean, and the other piece of it too is, as our foundation has grown and been more robust, they've also been helped to drive what some of those capital campaigns have
Great.
been. So I think for us, it's looking at where is the biggest need, and then again planning out several years. But for example, our Coliseum project, that was we borrowed for part of it, and then we used just our general revenue as well. So so it's really just, we're always looking at, okay, what's the next big one on the docket. So I know what they are, but we're not ready to share what those will be. And then there's just the regular maintenance of, roof replacement, and every new project we do, there's an electrical upgrade that's needed. And, it's not any of the flashy stuff, but it's a lot of those projects are things, if we didn't do, people would notice.
Yeah.
When you can't add a new food vendor somewhere, or you can't add a new ride because you don't have enough power for it, enough juice. Those things make a difference.
Yeah. What type of leader would you say you are?
Oh gosh. Collaborative, I think. I mean, my role is to support the team that we have and make sure that they have the tools that they need to do their jobs, and knowing that this is not a place that is run by one person. It takes all of us to do it, and to build partnerships and relationships, and and know that in this particular role, I am a caretaker. This place belongs to Minnesota.
So you have such a unique job. I mean, how did you learn a model for doing your job? And is there anybody that you go to say, hey, I'm really struggling with this problem, I need somebody's help? Who did you learn from, and who do you really look to now?
Yeah, I think, Karen Leach, who hired me for the position, she was a great mentor of mine, and came up in the fair business when there were not a lot of women in the fair business, and really was a groundbreaker. So she was, a key role model and mentor for me, and still a dear friend. I'm having dinner with her tomorrow night.
Great. I'm sure you'll have a couple things to talk about.
We will have a couple things to talk about. Yes. She's been retired for a while, so she loves to take in all the fair information. I think peers within the industry, I am dear friends with the manager of the CEO of the Iowa State Fair. We just talked this week. So I talked to a lot of my colleagues in the industry. I've got, there's just a whole litany of folks. Our attorney is become a friend and an advisor. I mean, every leader knows that there are times when it feels very lonely. So finding those people that you can trust and that you can rely on is really key to I think, to being a successful leader, because you can't keep it all to yourself.
I think the Minnesota State Fair is the number one fair in the country. Better than Iowa, better than Texas. How do you look at some of the other fairs and say, here's what we're going to do to try to stay on top?
I think it's less about looking at them and looking at us. We're always looking internally, like, how can we be better? What can we do better? And I mean, again, the beauty of fairs is we're not competing with one another. People are not deciding, most people are not deciding, I'll either go to the Iowa State Fair or the Minnesota State Fair. They're going to the one that is in their community and reflects their community, and they have pride around, which is which is fantastic. But we're learning from each other all the time. I have staff that's visiting the Wisconsin State Fair next week and the Iowa State Fair the following week. I've been to both. I've been to several fairs. I've been to several county fairs this year. So, and looking outside of the industry, looking at what arenas are doing or theme parks, crowd management, all of those types of things. We're always looking and learning and trying to make ourselves better. And it's not about being on top of any of our colleagues. It's just about us having a sense of pride in what we do and making sure that people love their fair.
Yeah. I want to talk a little bit about this book that you brought of State Fair recipes.
Yes.
Tell us about what this is and, where people can find it.
Yeah, I'm super excited about this. The last time that the State Fair did a recipe book was 50 years ago.
Wow.
So we reached out to those who have entered chocolate chip cookies and other more obscure categories and said, would you like to submit a recipe to be included in our State Fair recipe book? So we received hundreds of entries. We selected about 100 recipes, and so they're listed throughout the book. But I think one of the really special things about this book is that the stories that go along with it. People shared stories about their recipes and themselves and where they came from, and so I think that's really one of the special pieces about the book. It will be on sale at our State Fairware, our gift shops on the fairgrounds throughout the 12 days of the fair while supplies last. I think it's going to be a hot seller. I've already bought 6 myself. It's my gift for folks for the course of the next few months. I might have to buy 6 more because I think I'm getting down in my inventory already.
That's great. Before we wrap up, anything about the fair this year you want people to know? Any new stuff people should check out?
Oh, there's so many new things to check out. So we have a new food and beverage, a permanent vendor that's on the north end of the fairgrounds called Summer Lakes Boathouse that will have mocktails, and they've been a mocktail vendor in the past, but they'll also have beer and wine and some great concoctions and food. It's a beautiful space. Our dinosaur exhibit I mentioned at the North End Event Center. The reopening of our Coliseum we're really excited about for all of the free shows happening there. But our entries are really strong coming in for crop art this year and for creative activities, all of our livestock. So it's going to be a really full and robust year. We've got great lineup of entertainment on our free stages. I'm excited the first 2 days. We have Margot Price on the band shell. Big fan of hers. So we've just got a lot of really great things. And I think, I mentioned earlier, it's, getting to the fair can sometimes be challenging. So I would just encourage people to plan ahead, make a plan A, a plan B, look at where the park and ride lots are, express lots, and plan ahead and we're excited to welcome everybody through the gates here in a few weeks.
Amazing. We're sitting here in August. I know you're incredibly busy and just really grateful for you taking the time for this. I hope people learned some stuff, and I had a really great time. So thank you so much.
Thank you. It was my pleasure.
Thank you as well to Gabe Noah, Keely Doyle, Mike Novak, Connor O'Neill, and Allie Alt for all your work behind the scenes. We will see you next time.